Last week on Legally Kidnapped.
Good evening. Our top story this week. A family rights group in Ohio takes a shot at the Child Abuse Propaganda Month imperialistic morality parade by planting 10 black pinwheels in the ground in memory of children who have died while in foster care. In New York this week, the 17-month-old foster child who was beaten by his 32-year-old foster mother's 19-year-old boyfriend dies from his injuries. The death is ruled a homicide, and the kid's heart goes to a little girl in Baltimore, Maryland. Although New York child welfare workers don't like it, lawmakers are pushing for stricter accountability laws in child welfare. A New York State senator wants baby stealers to start taking pictures during home visits, and a New York City councilman wants to ban the Happy Meal toy. In California, a Los Angeles attorney calls the U.S. family court system barbaric as compared to Australia and England. And San Diego County seizes any assets such as the foster kids' Social Security payments as reimbursement for their care. In Florida this week, it is revealed that the top employees of private child welfare agencies are pulling in six-figure salaries. This, as a report is issued detailing the lack of diligence by DCF investigators. The Florida DCF caseworker who was assigned to investigate the twin who died at the hands of her adoptive father says that it's not her fault and that she is being used as a scapegoat. And Florida's DCF head is excited for the agency's future, even in light of a horrific child murder. There is a shortage of Hispanic foster parents in Denver, Colorado, and Connecticut's new DCF chief wants to have a friendlier agency. The state of Michigan continues its baby stealer hiring spree with 400 brand new inexperienced caseworkers set to hit the streets by the end of May, and they're all getting brand new iPads to boot. Minnesota Representative Michelle Bachmann talks up her time as a foster parent to prove her moral superiority in her potential bid for the U.S. presidency. New Mexico's new child abuse hotline gets 1,400 calls in 4 days, with most being false reports of child abuse or neglect. And even with a criminal background, you can still be a foster parent in Alaska. In Ireland this week, the HSE reveals that 27 kids under the care of the state died last year. The government of Israel is sued over their failure to build 6 child protection centers. A group of protesters in India are up in arms over raids on children's homes by the officials of the Women and Child Welfare Department. An orphanage operator in Nepal gets busted for not meeting the minimum standards. And a South African social worker gets busted for faking her credentials, selling babies, and collecting illegal adoption fees. In Australia, child protection is not operating properly, as a new report into Tasmania's system describes a disturbing lack of support for the children in the system. In Canada this week, the owners of an adoption agency are charged with fraud, and the retrial of a foster mother who killed a 3-year-old boy in her care is underway. In England this week, the Sutherland Council spends £100,000 recruiting 12 American social workers. A father complains about Workingham Council's shocking incompetence. Expert witnesses may soon be too afraid to testify after a Supreme Court ruling that leaves them open to being sued. A judge is accused of sitting on the bench while under the influence of alcohol, and British schools are suffering from kids with behavior problems which they are hiding from Ofsted inspectors. In entertainment news this week, Charlie Sheen and Brooke Mueller come to a custody agreement. UFC fighter Chuck Liddell is accused of drug abuse by his ex in their custody battle. Joe Francis, the creator of the Girls Gone Wild franchise, wins a lawsuit against his company. And Angelina Jolie gets a new tattoo, sparking speculation that she's going to adopt another kid. In California, a federal jury awards $3.25 million in damages against 2 police officers to a family for the unlawful seizure of their children. And a young man from Rhode Island files a lawsuit against the state's DCYF, alleging that he was abused while in their care. In California, a foster father is ordered to trial for sexually molesting a 13-year-old girl in his care, and a suspected foster child killer in Fresno County has her bail lowered. In Florida, the author of The Pedophile's Guide to Love and Pleasure gets 2 years probation for distributing obscene material, but is spared jail time and life on the child abuse register. And in Utah, a foster mother is charged with failing to report the rape of a foster child in her care by her own biological son. A Florida social worker quits after getting caught filing false reports. And a Florida housing development proposes new rules that would fine the parents of kids who play outside. The daughter of a Detroit mother who shot at police who were aiding and abetting the Michigan CPS will not be getting her daughter back anytime soon. And 2 sisters from Michigan who were separated in foster care 49 years ago finally meet up again. A judge in Nebraska is set to decide if biological siblings have the legal right to live together in foster care. And finally, tonight, police in Colorado pepper spray an 8-year-old who was having a temper tantrum. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.